It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, July 31st, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Health is Happiness and the Evangelism Scripts Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? Hope you guys are having an amazing and awesome week. And yes, it's already the middle of the week. And not only that, it's the last day of July. Hope you guys have had a great month. Don't forget, tomorrow is Q&A Thursday. We have it every single week, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, please leave a like and comment to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is Live Knowing and Believing. And of course, we do have a Wednesday service tonight. Looking forward to that also. So let me just give you a quick update of what I did yesterday. And as crazy as this sounds, I did not update this on my social media, but I went to the airport again. Yes, guys, I thought that I went to the airport for the last time in July, but I actually went to the airport again. All right, so what actually happened? Why did I go? It wasn't something unexpected. It was just I had, I told you I had friends from Korea that came for just a couple of days, and the main reason they came was to just stop by and then go to Bali after, right? So they go to Bali for 4 or 5 days, and then they came back to Malaysia to take a flight back to Korea, all right? However, they had a layover at the airport for about 5-6 hours. You know what I mean? So it's 5-6 hours. They arrived at Terminal 1, but then they have to go and take a bus to Terminal 2 and then wait there for like another 5-6 hours. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just go. Monday I do have extra time now because Eddie's doing the Tuesday podcast. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just go. I might as well just go hang out for a little bit. So I went to the airport, picked them up from Terminal 1. We went to some places to eat and stuff like that. And then, so I went to the airport again, but it was a different capacity. Just eat and enjoy time with friends. There was no pressure. From my house, the airport's actually not too far. Because I'm living with a member, and we live pretty far out from the city area. So, sorry, I just had to stretch and yawn there. I would say that we're only about less than 40 minutes from the airport. Right. And that's like during non-peak time, like non-rush hour. But so it was pretty close. I just went, I hung out. It was crazy. Like we were, including the driving time was about an hour. And then, I brought them to the airport a little earlier, about 3 hours before their flight. And we went to like this, like kind of an outdoor shopping mall. And we started off with eating local food. And then we went to get burgers with like cheese fries. And then we went to get like desserts. And like, it was kind of crazy. In a matter of 3 hours we were there to get like 3 hours at that place, we were basically eating the entire time. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, these 3 females, these 3 girls, they're not heavy. They're thin. And I'm just like, every time I was with them, they're just eating all the time. It was kind of crazy. These girls can eat. And I knew I was meeting them, and I knew what their like eating habits were like. So I purposely didn't eat all day because I'm like, man, they're just going to be pigging out. Well, not pigging out literally, but yeah, oh my gosh, they eat so much. So yeah, it was another time of just constantly eating with these friends from Korea and stuff like that. So they're all like I said before, they're like 50. They're around 50 and over, right? They're like, one is like a Pilates instructor. one like into, I think other two are into beauty and stuff. You can see why that they're in shape and stuff like that too. But it was really fun just kind of seeing them again after their trip to Bali. They kind of showed me pictures and stuff like that too, and how much fun they had. So I was very grateful and thankful. But oh, you know what? But it kind of it made me realize about this one Bible, and this is coming up into my mind right now. Okay, so there's this Bible verse that comes out. Okay, give me 1 second. I gotta find something. What did Jesus say? It says like use your wealth, something like use your wealth to gain friends or something like that. You guys know that verse? Like that's the verse that popped into my mind. Okay. Okay, it's Luke chapter 16, verse 9. Guess what it says? This is Jesus speaking. It says, Luke 16:9 says, I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it's gone, you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Tell me that's kind of crazy. Like, it was kind of interesting. Jesus is saying use worldly wealth to gain friends, right? And this is at the end of, if you guys know that there's a parable, Jesus speaks right after this parable about the unruly servant, I think like that, right? It's about, there's a rich man who had a manager and charges were brought to him that this man was wasting his possessions. Jesus told his disciples, there's a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. Now, oh, wait, one second. Let me get to the actual Luke chapter 16, 1 second. Let me get to this. Like, I'm totally not, I'm just riffing right now because it just reminded me of this verse. And I'm going to tell you why it reminds me of it. So here is a parable of the unruly or the shrewd manager. Okay, so a rich manager accused of wasting his possessions. Right? So he calls him in and says, hey, what's this I hear about you? Give me an account of your management because you cannot be manager any longer. The manager said to himself, what shall I do now? My master is taking away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their houses. So he called in each of his master's debtors. He asked the first, how much do you owe my master? 900 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 450. Then he asked the second, how much do you owe? 1,000 bushels of wheat. He told him, take your bill and make it 800. The master commended the dishonest manager because he has acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it's gone, you will be welcomed into eternal blessings. Tell me that is a weird verse. And I know that someone's asked me about this before. Give me 1 second. I got to get a sip of coffee. It's a very interesting thing where this person's about to be fired. Okay? Right? This person's about to be fired. And what this person does is right before he leaves, he basically, he's commended for being shrewd by taking everyone's debt and making it smaller so that he'll have a place to go after. Right? So what does it mean to be shrewd? We might think shrewd is very, very negative, but it just means, right? It means having or showing sharp powers of judgment. Sharp powers of judgment, right? This person is being commended for being shrewd, right? So when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, that's so interesting that this person's basically taking money away from his boss, but the boss is literally commending him. Why? Because when this manager does these things, what's happening? He's basically opening opportunities for himself in the future so that he's not going to be without a job, right? He's being very shrewd. Now, Jesus then says, use your worldly wealth to gain friends. And then it says, so that you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. And I was just like, what does that have to do with eternal dwellings, right? Now, is it talking literally about heaven? And personally, I don't think it's really about heaven, but I think it's kind of the reason why I was inspired by this verse, because while I was like the last couple of weeks, I've been taking care of my friends that came over and such. And it's really interesting because I've seen it done to me, and I see myself doing it to others, right? And what happens is, I don't have much wealth or anything like that, but I have time, right? That's the greatest thing that we can give to people is time. And this is why they say that people will people your image will be better is if you actually go out and feed the homeless rather than even paying $1 million so that even more people can be fed. But people will look at you giving your own time as such a bigger thing because time is the one commodity everyone is equal in, right? And it's the difference between an email, a text, talking in person, and a handwritten letter, right? There's a difference between these things because the more it actually makes you put in more time, using your time and effort, the more it's respected, the more it's something that it's that people will look more highly upon you. Now, okay, so why am I saying this? Because time is the biggest thing that I have. So even for me, when I thought, even when my friend came, when my friend came and they brought she brought her to her parents, right? And the father had a stroke. He couldn't walk around much, and he was kind of slowly. When you have a stroke, a side of your brain is kind of malfunctioning, right? And his memory is not as good as before and such. And the thing that's kind of for me, I was like, this friend of mine, I've known this friend for over 20 years. This is 20 years of friendship. I have to put in everything. They're only coming for 4 days, but I want to make sure that this friend knows that 20 years is really, really important to me, right? And I basically took care of them, spent all my time with them all the time, to the point they almost felt bad. Like, oh, are you okay? Are you sure? I'm like, no, don't worry about it. It's a 20 years friend, right? And even the friend that just came now that I went to the airport, this friend also, I met them in Canada for the GACP event in like 2003, I believe. So this is already 21 years of friendship there too. And I was like, I got to take care of these people because, give them my time and be with them from the beginning to the end, and making sure that, a lot of these friends don't just, I feel kind of bad sometimes. Like, no, I don't want you to take a Grab and spend money to go there. Let me drive you to the airport, like until the very end point. Like, that's what I really felt like this is something that I can do. And it wasn't something like, oh, I'm going to expect something in return. No, it's just something where I thought to myself is 20 years of friendship is a long time. And I've also seen people do that for me. Many people are blessing me. Many people are doing things for me also, which makes me want to do favors and more stuff for them also. Even though I cannot do the exact same when it comes monetarily, I can do things in other ways for them too. Do you know what I mean? So when I was looking at that, I was like thinking to myself, is like, yeah. At the end of this trip, when I went to the airport for the last time, and took these people out for like a couple hours and came back and dropped them off at the airport. They're so thankful. But even then, they're like, hey, if you ever drop by Jeju Island, don't worry about it. I got you. I'll take care of you. If you ever drop by here, I'll take care of you. If you ever drop by here, I'll take care of you, kind of thing, right? And I was like, wow, this is exactly what this Bible verse is like, where people are using their worldly wealth or the thing that matters most to them. Like, for instance, time. And using your time or your expertise, skill, whatever it is, and you're not doing it, basically you're just doing it out of the kindness of your heart. And what it's doing is it's making connections. Because even this member I've just met for the first time, they're like moved by it. They're like, yeah, if you come, I'll take care of you. Could come to Jeju Island, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it, like this and that. And I was like, wow, this is kind of what like Jesus was saying is use your worldly wealth to gain friends, right? You're doing things for them so that you will have something. Like, for instance, in my mind, it feels like eternal dwelling seems like something like after you die. But the reality is, it's kind of like after my job or after my time here ends, because I've done this for them, even after my mission or even after something ends, I have an opening that I will be able to be taken care of. And it's very interesting because I actually look at my life right now. this is really interesting. Like something that I've realized is all these connections and all these people that I know. And you think about all these people that are coming to visit Malaysia while I'm here. These are all connections that I've had from the last 20 some odd years. These are all connections. What does that mean? It means that I realized in many cases when I meet these people, they're like, "Oh yeah, of course I remember you. Oh, you taught me a lesson, or you did this evangelism rally, and the newcomer that I brought passed, and they're doing odd." Like, there's so many of these people out there where the networking of all these people from around the world. This is kind of what I realize is kind of like business. Business networking is the number one thing. You meet people, you meet people, make connections, make relationships, and later in the future, they become the people that help you out, right? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is what Jesus was talking about, is you have this time, you have this money, you have whatever it is that you can give to people. And when you do this, you make these connections, and these connections allow us to do what? Allow us to do better when our job dies or when something ends in our life, like the last days of me being in a mission. But now I'm able to be blessed because of a relationship that I've had 15 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever it is, where it even flips around, where someone who I've had a relationship for the last 20 years, where they will come to Malaysia, and because of that relationship, because of that connection, I'm able to take care of them and their friends and stuff like that too. So it's really, really interesting how just relationships, connections, networking is such a big thing, where the more you have, the better. And I know there's a study that basically said that people with the most opportunities are extroverts. Why? Because they make the most amount of connections. And I was like, oh, that's good. I'm a total extrovert, and I'm just making friends everywhere I go kind of thing. And of course, I make enemies too. Yeah, I'm sure I do. I'm sure we make mistakes when we're mature. We do stupid things all the time. I'm sure I make enemies and friends all the time, but I'm just grateful and thankful that you can kind of see everything run full circle, where I do things for them, they do things for me, that even like decades later, people are coming in. I'm like, oh, of course, this is someone I've known for 20 years, and I'll take care of them. And it's something where I think it's something that we should not take for granted. And I would say this, guys, if you ever see people, like Providence people coming from other countries, make connections. I'm dead serious. Make the connections, and not just the ones like, hey, how's it going? And you have small talk and it's done there. Like, make real, actual connections. When you make these connections, you're going to be remembered. When you make connections, you do favors for them, or you help them out in something, they will remember you because you helped them. Like even for me, you know what I'm moved by? There's one time I was in Korea. This year I was in Korea, and I was in a meeting for volleyball. And there was a member from Mongolia, and I follow their Instagram. I don't know. I've never met them. And they called me in the middle of a meeting, so I couldn't answer it. But they were so thankful for the podcast that they gave me flowers. And I was moved by it. I was really moved by it. I was like, wow, like this is such an amazing gesture. I wanted to meet them, but they already left, right? Because I was in the meeting and such. And what made it worse was so busy moving around that I actually even forgot to take the flowers with me. So I left it in Myeongdong. So I felt really bad about that. But I was so moved by it. I was like, wow. And people just making connections. And I realized, I look at them, I'm like, well, I'm going to remember that gesture. I will remember that gesture. Right? And it's basically the connections we make, whether it's the podcast, whether it's YouTube, whether it's this or that. And what's happening is we're kind of helping each other in these areas too. So when I was looking at this, I was like, man, that's so amazing. That's really, really awesome. And I would say, guys, whenever you see people coming from other countries, don't just like, oh, hi, how's it going? Oh, nice to meet you. I would say make connections. Right? Make connections. And these are the things that people are going to remember. And in the future, when things are done, excuse me, I got the hiccups for some reason. And in the future, when things are kind of done and finished for you in one area, because of those connections you made while you're in your mission and this and that, this is what allows you to, even after your mission dies or you finish it, you're still able to have these connections for later on in the future, right? So it's something that I looked at and I was like, yeah, this is I kind of see what Jesus was talking about at that point too. So yeah, it was really, really interesting I was thinking about that while driving in my car back from the airport, right? By the way, the other day too, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw it. I saw the movie on the opening weekend. And I would say, of course, I'm supporting my Canadian brethren. Ryan Reynolds is Canadian. I believe the director's Canadian too. And great movie. Super funny, super relatable, especially to Westerners. I'm not sure if Easterners can realize it as well. Super funny for Westerners. So many cameos. I couldn't believe how many cameos there were. Story was decent, and I would say, of course, it wasn't like amazing story, but come on, it's Marvel, right? You're not expecting like the greatest stories ever to come out from that too. I would say the only down thing about it was there is so much cursing in that movie. So much. Like, of course, it's playful. It's playful and funny, but there's so much cursing. You eventually get used to it. But it's interesting because in Malaysia, it's a Muslim country. And for some reason, there's one word that you are not allowed to hear in Malaysia. Whenever this is said, it is always bleeped out. And the word is, the word MF, like mother beep, like the F-bomb, right? That word you'll never be able to hear in Malaysia. Every time it comes, it's coming out because it just silences the audio. So you can't hear him say mother effer kind of thing, right? So every time that word came out, it was bleeped out. I was kind of annoyed in the beginning, but then I was like, all right, whatever. But you know what? I would say this. I would say I respect Malaysia, the country, more because of it. I put them at a higher light because they're able to do that. And why? Because they have their standards and their rules. It's their culture. It's a Muslim culture, and there's some things that are very strict and some things that aren't, right? But like so many things that are respectable here that even when the Americans came, we're like, man, imagine we had this. Where, you have the call to prayer, where at the mosques, you'll hear someone start to sing because it's time for everyone to pray, right? People go to the mosque 5 times a day. On Fridays, because it's their service day, their lunchtime is 2.5 hours, so they can have lunch and also have service at the mosque. It's very centered around the Muslim faith. Even gas stations have a prayer place so people who are on the road can stop and pray. Don't you think that's kind of amazing? Like the diligence, the consistency, the standards that they have. Everywhere has a prayer place. Everywhere. And the prayer places are separate for guys and girls. The trains are separate for guys and girls. And of course, in Western countries, we think it's really weird. But when this is one of the things I like about traveling is you realize it's only weird to your perception in your country. But when you start to travel a lot, you realize it's not an unnatural or uncommon thing. There's some things that happen in other countries too. The level of commitment that Malaysia as a Muslim faith has to God and it's not even super strict here when it comes to religion. It's not like it's like Sharia law and stuff like that too, right? But the level of commitment to religion, to the Muslim faith, is unrivaled. You can definitely respect it. I respect it. It makes me think about how religion can just be so infused into a culture and country so much that praying is not weird, that you're not going to feel a little bit conscious of praying in front of my friends No. There's nothing like that. It's respected. It really, really is respected. And I think to have that standard, right, that comes from your religion, I think that is crazy commendable. It really is. It's something so commendable that, yeah, I kind of have a new light of looking at how the Muslim faith is so strong, right? And it's infused into the culture where in the Western culture, it's kind of, we're moving away from religion, where we were originally a Christian nation. But now it's almost like we're ashamed of it. Or, I got a call yesterday from a member about the Olympics, the opening ceremony, and they were telling me that there was like a scene of the Last Supper, but they were all drag queens in it. They were, my friend was telling me they were super offended by it. For myself, I don't really care much about the Olympics anymore. Olympics used to be big in the past. I don't really watch it much. I don't really care about it. I might watch some highlights, not for the Olympics, because it's like, oh, I want to go watch volleyball, see what volleyball is going on in volleyball. Oh, track and field is always kind of big, this and that. But Usain Bolt is gone now, so it's not really as exciting. I really don't have much for the Olympics. And I would have to say even now, the best power that I have against the Olympics is not to watch it, because that's where they get all their money, is watching it and stuff like that too, right? And for me is, I'm like, Sunseem has talked about this before, and Sunseem talked about at one point we're going to have events in Providence that are going to be like the Olympics, or even did he say bigger than the Olympics? I forget. But, back to where it should be. And I think it should have some standards in giving glory to God, and not like when I was reading one article on it, they are saying things like, and I think this is true, because when it comes to the Muslim faith, they have such a standard that there's some things they're not going to put up with. And because they have that standard, what happens? Well, if you make fun of Muhammad or Allah, you're dead. Like, it's kind of like a scary thing. People know that something's about to happen. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that we got to be violent and stuff like that too, but what I'm saying is they have a standard where everyone can make fun of Christianity. They can make fun of Jesus, but no one really dares to make fun of the Muslim faith. And it's kind of interesting. It's like, oh, well, why don't you do a parody of Muhammad? Why don't you do a parody of this? What, you don't want to offend their religion, but then you'll offend the religion of Christianity, doing the Last Supper with drag queens? Like, it's kind of something that came to my mind is, do we have the difference between the Muslim faith, how they won't put up with things, but Christians will? Now, does that mean, what am I saying, that we should go into violence and stuff? And no, I'm totally not talking about that. But I do think that the way that Christians, or the way that Jesus does things, if you look at the way that even Jesus works, it's even to the point where Jesus willingly dies on the cross to save others, because they don't want anyone, he doesn't want anyone to go to hell. And it does kind of give us a different view. And that's kind of, I probably think this is why people may want to take advantage of Christianity, because we're the ones that turn our cheek. We're the ones that say, oh, sure. Like, we're kind of in the eternal mode, which basically means you can say and do whatever you want. We just don't want you to go to hell. But in the end, we will have the last laugh. In the end, after you die, let's see then. Let's see what happens, right? And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why we kind of see it in that type of light, right? And the way that Jesus dealt with things was not by force, and it was not by like doing violence and stuff like that too. So, and of course there's a fine line. It doesn't mean don't protest against this stuff like that also. But I would say it's interesting, right? And I was like, for me is, Olympics are kind of, I don't know. It just feels like an event that's not really that special anymore to me. It really isn't, especially as it was when I was growing up, where you were proud of your country and, you wanted your country to win the most gold medals and stuff like that too. But, yeah, I don't know. Olympics is something that's kind of like not even on my radar anymore. It's not even something that I'm like, oh, what's going on in the Olympics? Not really. I'll look in I like sports, so I'll look in the sports news and I'll see something here or there. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like the one time that I was reminded that it was the Olympics going on, a friend from Malaysia texts me and says, oh, today Malaysia has a badminton match against Canada. Who are you rooting for? And I was like, I'm rooting for Malaysia because Canada sucks at badminton. So like that's the only time I was like, oh yeah, Olympics are on again. Oh, I completely forgot about this. But yes, it's not for me. I don't know if it's a big deal to you. It's totally not a big deal to me at all, right? Oh, as I was talking about when Jesus said in Luke chapter, was it 16 verse 9, that use your worldly wealth to gain friends so you'll have eternal dwellings, whatever it is. I thought to myself, I was like, last week or the week before, I had 2 different people ask me about my finances. It was kind of strange to me that people would ask, like, how do you make money, stuff like that too. Because usually finance is a personal thing. It usually is, right? Unless you're like a public figure and all your records are shown, right? Unless you're a public figure in a public company, whatever it is, everything is shown, right, for the public. But then I was like, oh, but it makes sense because I know that in Providence, after what we went through last year, money is a much more sensitive thing right now. So I kind of like, yeah, I guess I can understand why people would ask, right? And I would say that for myself, right, I am not a wealthy person. I am not rich, but like 100%, I am not rich. I am not. If I was, I wouldn't be in the place I'm in right now, right? I am not rich. But I would say more than rich, I am blessed, which are 2 different things. Of course, you could be rich and blessed, but for me, I am not rich. I am blessed. And there are 2 different things. I look at my situation, and I see that I don't have a lot of money, but I am someone who is really, really blessed, like truly blessed. And when I really think about all the things that I have right now, at first I thought to myself maybe God is blessing me for my past righteousness, for the things I did in the past, including what happened last year for 2023 with the podcast. But when I thought about it even more deeply, I kind of came to a conclusion of, I think I'm being blessed for my grandfather's righteousness that has been passed down to me. That's what I really feel. I really, really feel that the majority of it's not because of me, and it's because of my grandfather's righteousness of pioneering and pastoring all those churches during the time where Christianity was just starting and growing and stuff like that too. And because of these blessings, I think that it's possible that I could be misunderstood. I think it's very possible I could be misunderstood. And honestly, I honestly wish I was rich. I do. I wish I had what you would call, I don't know what the right word to say this is, but in podcasts and such, I heard this term. It's called, sorry, guys, I'm gonna kind of put in a curse word here, but it's called FU money. I wish I had that. FU money. What is that? FU money is basically, F is the F bomb. When you say to someone FU, that's like you're basically telling them off, like, like whatever kind of thing, right? And basically what FU money is, it means that you have enough money that you don't care about what anyone else thinks or says. You're not going to let anyone else control you. You have enough money to survive on your own or whatever, right? And this came up because I talked to a member the other day, and we were talking about, like, imagine you have a family, you have a child, and you have a job, but let's just say slander and all these other different things are going to affect your job. You could lose your job. You can't support your family anymore. And there's just certain risks that you can't take. Because if you get slandered, you get fired. Or opportunities can be taken away from you because of people knowing that you're in Providence, stuff like that too, right? However, imagine if you're self-made, right? If you're self-made and you're making enough money on your own, you can say and do whatever you want, and you don't care if you get canceled or whatever, right? Kind of like, when you look at on TV, people try to cancel like a Joe Rogan, a Dave Chappelle, Dana White, Elon Musk, Andrew Tate. Like, these people all have what you would call FU money. These people are super controversial. They're not controlled by anyone else. but they have enough money that they don't care what people say, right? These people are making millions a month, right? And, remember, even though I'm talking so much about money, we have to look at that also when it comes to righteousness also. Can you imagine you have FU money when it comes to righteousness too? But when I was talking to this member, we were like, man, if we had FU money, you could basically not worry about your family because they'd be taken care of because you have enough money, and they and do anything about Providence, defend Sunsteam without the possible repercussions of losing your job or any opportunities, and just being able to do all the things that that you truly want to say. And I was listening to this one podcaster talking about this type of FU money, right? And basically they said that what is enough to have, like, say, FU money? And they basically said 100,000 USD a month is enough for FU money. And when you think about that, it's actually not even that much, right? It's not even that much. Like, you'd be thinking to yourself, oh, you have to make hundreds and millions. No. It's just 1.2 million a year, which 100,000 a month, right? And I was thinking, like, wow, that's it, huh? Then, I was thinking about, man, but does that mean, then I thought about it more deeply, like, does that mean we have to wait till that point in order for someone to be that bold to stick up for Sunsteam and stuff like that too? But when I went to Create a Visit, there are many people sticking up for Sunsteam even right now. There are. And when you look at even in the past, there are many people that followed Christ that were able to sacrifice everything, even if it meant suffering for them or for their family, whatever it is like that too. And I was thinking about myself is, for me, I'm pretty much, the way I speak on my podcast is pretty much, some people would say anti-establishment, but I would say not so much not so much anti-establishment. I would be like anti-bad organization. You know what I mean? Like, it's something along that line, right? And I thought to myself, I'm a rebel pastor and stuff like that too. Am I too careful? Probably. No, I don't think I'm too careful. Like, I'm really trying to grow, like when I even look at my social media presence, I'm trying to calculate what's my social media presence across all platforms. And across my 3-4 platforms that I use, I'm at about 12,000 followers right now, about 12,000. And when you think about that, that's not even that much really, but still, I was just like, it's quite interesting when I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's quite interesting that I am, thinking to myself is, do I really need that type of money, or can I just do it right now, kind of thing, right? But of course, everything must be done wisely because we still want to evangelize. We still, you don't want to be the person that outs everything about themselves and then no one gets evangelized kind of thing. I don't know. It's just a couple things that I was thinking about, and I was like, that's really interesting. That I was thinking about having that much like FU money, but then I was like, do I really need to wait for that? Or like some people would say, like on social media, you act like you already have it, and then you become so controversial that more and more people follow you instead. That kind of thing. I don't know. That's just something that came to my mind also, but it was kind of an interesting conversation that I was having with a friend of mine too. Either way. All right. So there it is. That's a couple of things that I want to talk about for today's Wednesday podcast. Hope you guys gives you some food for thought. You can digest it while you're driving or you're going to school or whatever, or cleaning or whatever it is. If you have any other questions or any comments, go ahead, leave it below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this too. Okay. So there it is, guys. That is today's segment number 1. Before we get into the next segment, let's get into the first music break of the day.
Hurting, there's nothing that's quite worth it. So you call for help.
so let's get into today's second segment. And as you can kind of hear in the background, I am recording in a different location. So I'm at a cafe right now, but I was waiting for these other segments to come in. So that's why I had to do this recording in another area. So yeah, today there's going to be a little bit of change. Instead of the evangelism transcripts, remember that we couldn't get done Daniel's until the end from last Friday. So he sent it in a little bit late, but he made a 2-part series. So I'm going to play one right now, and then I'll play the second part in his regular time slot, which is the third segment on Friday, right? So without further ado, let's go to part 1 of this week's Until the End with Daniel Baker.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Do It Until the End podcast. I hope everyone is having an amazing week with the Trinity. Let's have an amazing rest of the week together. Now today, we're going to talk about something that has been plaguing the new generation. And this is going to be a 2-part episode. It's going to be, one episode is going to be on Wednesday and the other is going to be on Friday. So I hope everyone gets their knowledge caps on and get ready to learn about this topic. Now, as PROVI people, we understand through the word that our time is very, very valuable. What we do with our time is very, very valuable, right? And today we're going to talk about the thing that sucks your time the most, and something that is plaguing this new generation. And it's taking this new generation's time away. It's sucking it like a parasite. Now, what we're going to talk about today is internet addiction. Now, I know we have a lot of families watching, a lot of parents, and maybe you really want to understand about how your children is using technology. And I know we also have a lot of people who are living by themselves and just want to improve their daily lives. Whoever you are, because we are connected to the internet, we need to make sure we don't fall too deep into the rabbit hole of the internet. Personally, I really feel that this type of addiction is very easy, especially for young people, to develop, because it fundamentally attacks your reward system. What it means is it gives you a constant amount of dopamine and a constant amount of pleasure whenever you need it. This new generation can just, get it very easily on their phone. Now, it really doesn't help that during COVID-19, people like me who are in their late teens, we developed internet using habits that became full-blown addictions during this time. And first off, this is very unfortunate because it's like a massive turning point for this generation. Now let's talk about, is what you have is with your relationship with the internet an addiction or a habit? Now, we might have a problem with this and we need to fix it. But is this a habit or an addiction? Now, let's look into the definitions of these two words. A habit is something that you regularly do because you practiced it enough and incorporated it into your routine. Now, an addiction is engaging in a behavior because you feel a reward in doing so. And you know that it isn't good for you, but you ultimately can't stop. Now, the example is like if you watch 20 minutes of YouTube first thing in the morning, it's probably a habit and you do it every day. But if you watch YouTube for 20 minutes, but have trouble stop watching, which leads you to get late to work, there is a chance that it is an addiction. If it's a habit, you can do the following. You can keep up the habit, waste your time, brain power, and destroy your attention span, or you can improve your habits and put in the mental effort to change your habit. Now, if it is an addiction, there's going to be a lot more effort needed. Now, one of the best ways we can try to really fix our internet addiction, or if you have one, is to replace it with something that is beneficial for you, but gives you that same amount of reward that you feel from doing the internet. Even though it might be difficult, replacing that with something that is scientifically gives you dopamine. Like when you run a 5K, when you run a 10K, you scientifically get something called a runner's high, where you get that, you're in that euphoric state. Finding the things that you can replace that addiction, that's one of the best ways you're going to overcome that addiction. And that's all I have for you guys today. The next episode, we're going to talk about my position and how I stand on this issue. And it's going to be a fun episode, so get ready for it on Friday. And so I hope everyone has an amazing rest of the week with the Trinity. And to everyone who goes until the end with the Trinity, let's walk this path together.
Okay, so thank you, Daniel, for another wonderful episode of Until the End. This is part 1, and of course, part 2 is coming on Friday. Hope you guys are looking forward to that also, which means before we get into Health is Happiness, let's get into the final music break of the day.
Show him that you want it though. He can show you where you wanna be. You gotta put in words that'll be unseen. Look, and it's just like that. Take it to the golden city just with a snap. You don't even got a trip, no, we got your back. All you gotta do is sit back and relax. There's this love between you and I that is so strong. I don't wanna ever lose it, then I'll be alone. But if I leave his arms a wonder, I'll be sitting all alone just to ponder. Make up your mind and act as you should. I'ma show you we can be the greatest dude I ever stood. Living with the Lord every day is like my paradise. If you leave your worries and concerns to him, you'll be alright.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
The weather's fine, the temperature's cool. 7 on earth, cause I'm with you. Ain't nothing better when we live forever. When we make ourselves to be one true love. Birds of a feather flock together. And it's just like that. Give you my love, cause I don't hold back. Call me your love, cause I know you got stacks. This love is real, cause we got it like that. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
He can take you where you wanna go. 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 He can show you what you wanna know. He can show you what you wanna know. I have realize I'm not alone, because living with you is like my paradise.
The night brings darkness, you're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest, just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. The night brings darkness, you're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest, just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
Alrighty, so now that we're getting into our final segment for this Wednesday podcast, hope you guys have been enjoying it thus far. Today we're going to go into Health is Happiness, and this is going to be the last of a series from Yuan Yu over there in Singapore, and she's going to be talking about an overview of an active lifestyle. So hope you guys enjoy this. Please welcome all the way over from Singapore. This is Yuan Yu with Health is Happiness.
Hello everyone, my name is Yuan Yu and I'm from Singapore. I'm currently a final year physiotherapy student, and on today's segment, I will be sharing more about active lifestyle. From this segment onwards, I will be sharing the topics in a more organized manner with these few weeks on active lifestyle, of which each week I will share a subtopic before carrying on to another big topic. I will also be using a better quality microphone in hopes that the audio will be of better quality so that everyone can listen to the sharings better. I would like to give thanks to the Holy Trinity, Julius, as well as Pastor Sky for making this platform podcast possible. Without further ado, I will begin. Firstly, why an active lifestyle? With COVID easing, studies have shown that in the general population of people, there is a decrease in physical activity, increase in sedentary behavior. Also, being fit and physically active has strong evidence of reduced rate of all causes of mortality, including heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, diabetes, cancer, depression. Being fit and active also has strong evidence of increasing heart and muscle fitness, improved bone health, and improved cognitive function. Through research, it also shows that the risk of physical inactivity is even similar to that of obesity and smoking. Next, I will explain how one can have an active lifestyle. A disclaimer is that all of these are general health advice. If you have any existing medical conditions or any questions, do consult your local doctor. How to have an active lifestyle? It consists of exercise and physical activity. Exercise refers to planned and structured physical activity such as jogging, swimming, biking, strengthening exercises. Whereas physical activities are any activities requiring energy expenditure. For instance, household chores, window shopping, walking a dog. Hence, exercise is a subset of physical activity. Within exercise, there are two types: cardio, also known as aerobic exercise, and strength, also known as resistance exercise. For cardio exercise, according to the American Council of Sports Medicine, ACSM guidelines, it recommends that for healthy adults, a total of at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity exercise, or at least 75 minutes of high intensity exercise per week. This can be broken down into, for instance, 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise 5 times a week. And some examples include jogging, cycling, swimming, or joining church sports activities if your church has. For strength exercises, it is recommended to do them 2 or more days a week, of moderate to high intensity. Some examples include body weight squats, body weight push-ups, or you can go to the gym to use the weights available. Then, how do you tell what intensity to exercise at? One easy way is to use the rate of perceived exertion scale, in short, RPE scale. This scale is a scale of 0 to 10, whereby 0, you are at rest, and 10, you perceive that activity to be the most difficult activity ever. Moderate intensity is a 4 to 6 out of 10, and high intensity is 7 to 9 out of 10. Other methods include using heart rate monitoring, but that is not that important or relevant now because it is more applicable to a population that has a heart condition and they need to monitor their heart rate more closely, or it can also pertain to very high level athletes who need to have that specific training. Then, by using the RPE scale, you can monitor the intensity you're exercising at. Another way to monitor is using the talk test, meaning that if you're able to complete full sentences while you're talking, that is considered a moderate intensity, but if you're only able to speak a few words at each time, then that is considered high intensity. Then, when do you progress your exercise? When you do the same intensity of exercise, but you find it easier. The key is to gradually progress and not to do too much too fast because that may cause injury. On the flip side, it is also important to do exercise of a certain intensity, for instance, a moderate intensity, in order to have that exercise benefit. Ways to progress include, for cardio exercises, you can increase the duration, increase the intensity, whereas for strength exercises, you can increase the number of reps, increase the amount of weight that you're carrying. During exercise, do monitor your symptoms such as pain, fatigue, breathlessness, giddiness, lightheadedness, cold sweat, chest pain. If any of the above, besides the usual muscle aches that may be more abnormal, do take a break or cease activity if needed. Thirdly, one other way of having an active lifestyle besides doing exercise is to increase your physical activity. In other words, increasing physical activity also means breaking up your sedentary periods lasting more than 90 minutes. These include sitting down to do work, sitting down to listen to sermons, commuting for long hours. And how we can break it up is by getting up and walk around for a taller break. But for instance, if let's say we can't walk around that much, then it will be good to move your ankles a little bit by doing some ankle palms, stretch your hands in front of you. But of course, do be mindful when you do all these movements and try not to do it too much that you might disturb the other people around you. To end off, I will share a little extract from a July 2020 Sunday message. It says, God made you healthy, comfortable, and live in His grace and love so that you could love Him, save lives, run, and do His work with a healthy body. With that, we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
And that's a big and wonderful thank you to Yen Yu for another wonderful episode of Health is Happiness. Hope you guys really, really enjoyed that. I'm hoping that we're gaining more and more about how to take care of our health better and better each and every week. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave that in the comments below. Would love to hear if you have any questions for Daniel or for Yen Yu. Okay, so here it is. We're at the end of the Wednesday podcast. Hope you guys super enjoyed it. And enjoy your Wednesday service tonight. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.